Good day, everybody. Welcome back to the flight deck. We are back on our U.S. Capitals tour. We're currently sitting in Topeka, Kansas, and today we're heading, Lincoln, Nebraska. And today we're heading up to Des Moines, Iowa, on our flight here in the Allegheny Airlines DC-3. We are on multiplayer if you ever want to join us on Wednesdays during these flights. We're on the Northern Europe server, and you're welcome to come along. You can find out information on the Discord. I'm also still under the weather, a little bit better than yesterday, so we'll see how this flight goes. So let's hop on board, get her fired up, and get the aircraft up and running. Alright, so with everyone on board, we can get the doors closed in the back. We're going to come up here, we're going to get the battery cart plugged in. Here everything's starting to power up inside. So position lights are going to come on. We don't need any interior lighting. We are good there. We'll get the windows open. It's a little cool. Get the windows open on this side too, so we can hear those round engines fire up. Current weather down here in Lincoln. I'll get the most up-to-date one. Winds are out of the southeast, 160 at about 6 knots. It is 19 degrees, so a little warmer than I thought. So the skies are clear, but I'm not seeing that. 3013 on the barrel. We'll set the barrels. They are set. Confirmed altitude 1200 feet. And we're looking good. It should be a nice flight out to Des Moines today. Alright, quick look around the aircraft. We're set up, ready to go. Ground crew is there as well. And we can get this baby fired up. So parking brakes are on. All the levers are set. We'll get that out of the way. We're good there. We'll get all the chocks removed. And we are good to go. We're going to start the right engine first. We'll turn the mags on to both. Generators on the right engine are going to come on. Boost pump. This is the electrical boost pump. Engine has a mechanical driven pump, but that only works when the engine is up and spinning. We're going to pop down now. We'll slide over, and we will go over to the right main tank for fuel. Come down, we're going to bring the fuel up to auto rich. We can see we now have fuel pressure on the line. We're going to bring the propellers fully forward, and we're going to crack the throttle about 1 inch. With all that on, we are now good to spin up the starter. So on the right engine, we're going to start energizing. And we can hear the flywheel starting to spin up. And when that comes to a steady tone, we can mesh and hit the right primer. That sounds pretty steady right there. Everything is good. So we're going to mesh on the right, primer on. Waiting for it to catch. And there we go. A little bit of smoke there as she burns out the oil that collected in the cylinders, but she is up and running on that side. Alright, we'll pop back in, we'll get ready on the other side. So we're going to come down here, fuel to the left main. That is set. Mixture to auto rich. Propeller fully forward. Going to go to about 1 inch on that throttle. Going up top, generators are on, the boost pump is on, and we're going to start meshing on the left side, or energize as they call it. Sounds good. And we will mesh and prime on the left. Waiting to hear it catch. see what I forgot to do. Forgot to turn the mags on. Did it catch? Oh, there you go. It caught as I turned the mags, but died for no fuel. Alright, so we'll do that again. Let's energize the left side. Even if you forget something like that, you can do everything right, and sometimes she still doesn't want to start. Alright, once again, we will match the left, hit the prime. And there we go. Alright, that's both engines up and running, so we can close the windows now. Make it a little bit quieter. So that done, we can come up top now. We can get the avionics on, the beacon light on. And 122.8, standard Unicom frequency. And 121.5 for the guard channel. We're going to be flying off with some VORs, so we're going to enter those in as well. I'll just pull those up. There's number 2. So the VORs we're using is we're going to be taking off on a southern runway, and then we are going to make a right-hand turn out and head up towards the Lincoln VOR, which is 116.1. So we're going to dial that in. 116.1. The next one is going to be the over VOR. Not sure exactly which one that is. It is the Omaha VOR, and that is going to be on 116.3, and we will put that in the active on nav 2. And then from there we're going to the Des Moines VOR, which is 1175. There we go. So that's all our VORs up and ready to go. And we just have to cycle through from the Des Moines VOR. It's a short hop over to the airport. Not on the field, but it's pretty close. So it looks like our temperatures and pressures are all coming up and looking good. So we're pretty much ready to head out. Quick look outside. Everything is clear of the aircraft. You can see the windsocks are showing the wind out of the north. We're going to taxi down this way to the end of, let's see, it is runway 18. That's the runway we're going to be taking. Alright, so we are ready to go. Manual brakes, parking brakes are off. Let's just make sure that the mixtures are set right. Yep. Props are fully forward. And the throttles are ready to go. We're going to look out front. We're going to make a hard right. Get around the pole there. We're basically taxi off Golf, the Bravo crossing 14, and that'll take us up to the end of 18. Flight time's about an hour, and we're only going up to 7,000 feet today, so we should get some good views of the countryside. Weather seasonal effects provided by Rex AccuSeasons Advanced. It should you can already see from here. I don't know how it's coming across on the stream, but man, I can see the reds and oranges and golds in the trees from here. Looking pretty cool. Let's pop out, take a look at the aircraft. It's standard airliner for the 1930s, the Douglas DC-3. Carried about between 28 and 34 passengers depending on how it was configured. and of course saw huge service as a troop transport during the Second World War. As the C-47, it was called the Dakota by the Commonwealth, and the RD-4, I believe, by the U.S. Navy. We're flying in the colors of Allegheny Air. We're based out of New England, where we started this series. We're going to fly her all across the country. So as it says, we are doing the lower 48. This is the 19th flight of the series. We're going to be visiting all lower 48 state capitals, including Washington, D.C., which we did go into. Runway 14 coming up. We're going to cross over 14. And then we're going to head just a short little ways to the holding point for 18. So as mentioned, we are on multiplayer, so anyone who wants to join along on any of these flights is well more than welcome to do so. Alright, that's the brakes you can hear clicking back and forth. Here's 18. Alright. Here we are. So, I'm not sure we're on the batteries. The battery cart's off. Landing lights are on. Beacon lights are on. Avionics are up. Passing lights are off. Windshield heat is on. Actually, we don't need windshield heat, but we will put on the pitot heat. We're good with those. Wing de-icer is not required. Generators, boost pumps are all on. We are on there. So our first nav point that we're going for, we're going to want a heading of roughly 359 degrees. It's going to be roughly there. As you can see, we're already picking it up. It's off to our left there on number 1. So we're going to make a flight out. We're going to turn to the right, circle around the west side of the airfield, heading up for that beacon. We'll go 1 notch of flaps for takeoff. Make sure that the altimeters are set, and we're going to come over here and get the gyro pilot hydraulics turned on, so that will be ready for us in the air. Alright, we're good to take our position. Everything's cleared. Should be able to see the trees now nice and red. Looking fantastic. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out as we go forward into the seasons. So as mentioned, I've still got a bit of that head cold, so if you hear my voice being a little funny or if I got a cough, please forgive me. I'll try to mute as best I can. Alright, this is the default DC-3 with the Duckworks mods. Alright, we're going to bring the engines up to 20 inches. Let them stabilize. And for takeoff, we'll go to 40 inches of power. Alright, props fully forward, mixer set. Flight path is clear, brakes released. 40 inches. Takeoff power set. A bit of forward pressure, help the tail come up. Get her up on the main wheels, there we go. Using the rudder to keep her down the center line. Watching the airspeed at about 80 knots will ease off. She should start to come off the ground. There's 80 knots, a little bit of back pressure. There's 90, and we are up. Alright, positive rate, gear coming up. that wind pushing us from the left a little bit. It's causing us to veer slightly, so we'll alter our course. Try to keep it over the runway as we climb out. Once we get to about 1,600 feet, we'll bring up the flaps, and then we'll start settling into our cruise climb speed of about 110 knots, or 110 miles per hour. Alright, so flaps coming up. Now we'll start trimming her back for the climb speed. Let that speed slowly start to build. And we'll get the gyro pilot ready. There's our initial of 180. Everything is looking good. We are on. Let's see if we get the elevator up. Get us climbing here. Let's say we were at a positive rate. We're going to bring our turn to the left. Working the controls here. Try to get that to lock in. Sorry, it just takes a little bit of faffing about to get this thing going the way you want it to. She's starting to nose up now. Much better. Alright, we're coming around towards that needle. See the color down there on the ground looking very nice. Just work to get that nose down. And there we've got about 110 knots or so. Try to steer a little bit more towards the needle. There you go, there's the airfield. And as mentioned, we're going to climb up to about 7,000 feet. Keep that cruise at about 110 for the climb. Looking good. Just going to come over quickly, check. Yep, we're open on the cowl flaps. They're all good. Flaps are up, and we are climbing nicely. Not sure if we got any traffic in the area. We are on multiplayer. Not seeing anyone out this way today. Let's do another check. Yeah, no name tags anywhere. But it's all good. There's 4,000 feet. We're getting a little bit slow, so we'll bring the nose down a little bit. We're going to set our climb power now. The props will come back to 2500. And 35 inches. Should have done that a little earlier, but was faffing about with the gyro. Still a little bit off on that heading, so let's go to 040. Next heading we're going to want is going to be 61 degrees. And that will take us off to the Omaha VOR. So as a reminder, we'll just dial this over to 61, which is already picking it up. You can see by the thin arrow. Down here, the thin green arrow, that's pointing to the next one. And there we are. There's Lincoln, Nebraska. All laid out. We fly past the airport. There's 5,000 feet, so we got about 2,000 feet to go. Adding power to keep that 35 inches in. There's 5,000 feet. We're high enough to kill the landing lights, and everything else is looking good. Turn off the boost pumps. We'll put those on for landing. Just let the engines run off the mechanical pumps for now. And we're watching for needle swing here. As soon as that needle starts to swing, we can head off in the new course. That means we'll be overflying the VOR. There we go, we can see the needle starting to swing. So we're going to turn now to that 61 degree heading. Be about there. We'll come up and we'll swap the frequencies over. There we go, and there's the one after that is in on 2 now. So now we're flying to the needle number 1. Hey Brian, how's your midweek so far? You get some lovely coloring down there on the ground. Love seeing those trees changing colors. We're a little bit further south than where I am. Basically the trees are almost bare here. So we've long past peak. So we got about a 48-mile run out to the Omaha VOR. And from there we'll be turning to the Des Moines. Still suffering a bit? Yeah, I got a bit of a head cold too. It's bugging me. It was a little bit worse yesterday. So didn't stream, but hopefully it clears up soon. That speed up at 110, so we're just edging down slightly on the trim. We'll get the power back up to 35 inches, and we're coming up on 7,000, which is going to be our cruise. So as we come up to 7,000, start nosing down, get her level, and let her speed up. When we get up to 140, we'll switch down into cruise power setting. And close the cowl flaps, or put them in trail so they can do their thing to regulate the engine temperature on their own. That'll decrease drag a little bit. 140 coming up. So we're going to bring the propellers back to 20, which is 2,000 RPM. And we're going to bring the power back to 30 inches of manifold pressure. Those props up to 20 again. There we go. We are in cruise power. We'll come over here. We'll trail the flap, cowl flaps, and we're going to pull the mixture back to auto lean. And then we just watch our altitude. Keep it nudging down as that speed builds. Okay. Yeah, every year or two I get one of these little sinus colds, and that's kind of what I have right now. Very familiar with it. Alright, so we're at 163 knot ground speed, cruising along. Everything is laid in. We're heading towards the Omaha VOR. Omaha, Nebraska. It's up here. I believe it's the biggest city in Nebraska. And then we'll be crossing over to Iowa. And heading over to Des Moines. Beautiful day for flying here. Got a slight downward pitch, so we're going to come up on the gyro slightly. 30-20, check our temperatures and pressures. Everything is looking good. Fuel pressure is up. Cylinder head temperatures are good. Carbs. Everything is looking fine. Alright, so while we're doing this, let's see if I can find a little bit of music to put on in the background. Do a quick look here. I got no idea what this is, but it is called, playlist is called Chess. So, let's see what it is. Yeah, I've got no more trips until next year. Kind of done right now. Nothing planned anyway. My next one might be in February. Have to see. That obviously will be for pleasure and not work like you, so. Just gonna mute for a second while I check the audio on the music, see how it is. Alright, well, it's not too bad. Background. It's some weird jazz. Winnipeg, Edmonton, Montreal, Halifax before Christmas. Oh, wow. That's a lot of travel. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing the Flight Sim Expo convention next year. I think it's in June. Down in Las Vegas. So I might go down there for that if I can get registered. We'll see. There's the meetup with the guys over in the UK. Nick and Dark and Kevin and all that stuff. And then that'll probably be in July. I might be going to the Aviation Museum in Seattle. I might do that next fall, so that would be a flight out there. And then there's one definite, potentially a second trip next year, so I could be doing 5 or 6 flights next year. We'll have to see how it goes. But the LA trip that I just went on was the last one for a bit. All right, we're crossing the river here. This is the what river is this? Missouri? The River Platte. As we come up towards Omaha, there's the city of Omaha laid out. Out here again on the Great Plains. And we're a little off course, so let's tweak us over. I remember doing all this stuff about, you find, calculate your rough angle off, double it to get back. So if you were like 5 degrees off, you go to 10 degrees. You go to 10 degrees, and that would bring you back in on a 5-degree intercept to get yourself back aligned. And, all that VFR navigation stuff we were doing with radials and NDVs and all that fun stuff. Next heading we're going to need after that VOR is going to be 70 degrees, so not too much further. Kind of where we are right now, as we're correcting. Kind of heading back towards it again. So once again, we are not streaming tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. We will be back on Friday, and as I mentioned on the Discord, we're going to try to close out the series we're doing so we can start up a new way of doing things in the new year. So we'll be back in Japan on Friday on VATSIM doing the next leg in our Tour of Japan flight. Saturday we're back on our Around the Atlantic. It's the penultimate flight, second to last one. We're leaving Lagos, Nigeria, and heading off further south from there as we head down towards the bottom tip of Africa. And then Sunday we have another flight on the F1 Support Series. The last one brought us into Austin, Texas, and this one's going to bring us into Austin to Mexico City. So we'll be streaming the full flight on that one as we keep going on that series. Not that we're ever going to catch up, because I think they've got one race to go. I think they're in Las Vegas this weekend. And then they've got Abu Dhabi is the last race of the year, I believe. So we've got to go to Mexico, then Sao Paulo, Brazil, then Las Vegas, and then Abu Dhabi, and then we've got to take the aircraft home to London. So that series will go probably to the end of the year. But Monday to Friday will eventually become our series nights. We'll be flying the various series around that we do. Saturdays is going to be Big Radial Saturday. DC-6, DHC-4, C-160 Transal, DC-3, aircraft like that will all be done on Saturdays. And some interesting things I'm looking at coming up for that one. And then on Sundays is going to be long haul Sundays. So after the F1 series stops, we're going to go into long haul passenger operations. Sundays will remain multiplayer. When this series ends, when we finish it, it'll switch over to a VATSIM on the regular series night. But so we will have one multiplayer a week eventually, and that will be the long haul. So it'll be pretty good. They don't play in the F1 circuit to make for minimal travel. No, God, no, they don't. It is all over the place. It is interesting. It's been fun flying along, and obviously, if I hadn't been away and all that stuff, we would have been doing the flights on the same weekend, which is kind of cool. But it is what it is, and we're a little bit behind, but that's fine. I'm still waiting to see what the airline is going to do for Christmas, so it'll be interesting to see if we're going to have a number of flights we have to do for Christmas and do that, or if it's going to be just one flight. Not sure. We'll see what happens. Alright, so it looks like the VOR is on the other side of the river here, coming up to. This river being the Missouri River. I think what we're going to do is we're going to switch over now to 1175, which is the Des Moines VOR. And we're just going to head out towards it since it's within range, and we should be pretty good. So we have a 96-mile leg. And when we get it towards the Des Moines VOR, we're basically going to be making a left turn towards the airfield, as the airfield's in the southern part of the city, and the VOR is south of that. Checking the weather out in Des Moines, it was pretty calm earlier. It's starting to pick up. South winds at about 5 knots. So we're going to land on runway 23. Yeah, we'll cross over the field coming off the VOR, and then we'll do a right pattern for runway 23. 2313, it's 50-50. Still climbing slightly. We'll give it 1 notch of nose down. And ground speed's good of 173. So we got a nice little push going here. Once again, we'll keep an eye on our heading here, and we are going to do a little bit of a click over of 3 clicks. So the VOR is 6 miles south of the airport. We're going to want to start down about 25 miles out. So just keep an eye on that. Looking very nice down here, very wintry. Not quite getting the snowfall yet, but we're not far away from it. So it'll be interesting to see with these flights here in North America on using the Rex Weather Advanced when it does the terrain replacement for the winter. Be interesting to see what they do. One thing that would be nice to have in here would be a fuel flow. Fuel pressure is good, but a fuel flow meter would be nice. Alright, let's get that on there. It's our localizer. giving us our heading towards our VOR. Unfortunately, Kevin couldn't be with us. He's tied up with stuff at the school. He's got a few things on this week. I'm not sure if we'll see him on Friday either. Should see him on the weekend though. I don't know if it's the multiplayer server or the there's just nobody around here, but I know Kevin's been saying that he's had problems with people not showing up again. But it is looking very nice out here. In the flat fields of the Great Prairies, or the Great Plains as they call them down in the US. So landing on runway 23, it's going to give us a left crosswind of a couple knots, which shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's a long runway. We'll come in and do the usual wheel landing and then get her down. Again, we'll come in from the south, cross over the field at circuit altitude, and do a right-hand pattern. Circuit altitude here at Des Moines is going to be 2,000 feet. Airport elevation is 958. So 2,000 will work very nicely for that. All right, everything's holding very nicely. We got her trimmed out nice. Holding our altitude. Okay, we're not precise, even though we're flying VOR to VOR, we are kind of doing this as a VFR flight. That's one of the things you can do. You can always use them in this manner as nav aids, and you don't have to be flying IFR. Little bits of low-lying, I don't know if that's cloud or an actual fog bank. The temperature's not bad. It was 19 degrees in Lincoln. It's saying it is 19 in Des Moines as well. That's pretty warm for this time of year. Could be a bit of a smog bank, especially if the winds are pretty light. Have a little bit of weather up here. And it looks like you can see little tendrils of rain coming down. So given that we've only got to lose about 5,000 feet, we're going to start our descent when we're about 25 miles out. That's going to be direct line. We are on a bit of an angle as we're heading in towards the VOR and then making the turn to the airport, so it'll actually be about 28 miles. So it looks like we're slightly left of the track, so we'll come up here and add a couple clicks in, see how it corrects. One of the great things I loved about flying was seeing the terrain like this, and you get to see how it lays out. You know, having driven through areas like the prairies and stuff, and then flying over it and seeing it from the air, you just get a real sense of how immense the terrain is, especially when it's laid out in these grid patterns for farming and stuff, and it just goes on to the horizon. We're down to 80 miles to go. Not sure where we crossed the border. Let's switch over to a different type of map. So we could already be in Iowa. Yeah, I think we already crossed over. I think Omaha. Actually, it might have been the river. I wonder if the Missouri River is the boundary. Council Bluffs? Yeah, I think it is. So we're well into Iowa now. Good. Cornfields of Iowa. It looks like we have a little bit of rain here coming out of the clouds. Very easy to see when you're actually flying in real life. Oh, nice tower there. Looks like we are going to fly through it. See if we get bumped a little bit by the turbulence and convection within the system, even though it is a small one. So we're still veering slightly, so we're going to come right down to about there. Get ourselves tracking back towards that VOR. There we go, we're slightly the other way now, so that should bring us back online. Checking our charts, see where we are. We're looking at, as I've said, Des Moines is to the north of the airfield where we'll be coming in, so it'll be left turn at the VOR and then a right turn once we cross over the airfield. Well, it was just light clouds here, no rain. Quick instrument check, 30 inches, 2000 RPM, temperatures, pressures are looking good. Oil temp, cylinder temp, carb, hydraulics, yeah, you're all good. Seems to have a little bit more of a rolling effect on the ground terrain here. See by the roads, not dead flat anymore. There's the airport over there. That is the Atlantic Municipal Airport in Atlantic, Iowa. Community airport there. There's Atlantic. We got about 35 miles to go before we start planning our descent. And we're going to cross overhead the field at about 2,000 feet. That puts us 1,000 above the ground, typical VFR circuit altitude. Just curious, and leave a comment in the chat if you wish. Do you prefer the more modern stuff or old classics like this? I know this is a lot slower, but it's pretty interesting. Makes for a change. Ground speeds keep it at 173, airspeed's about 163 miles an hour, so we got about a 12 mile an hour push, which is nice from the prevailing westerly winds. You could definitely start to make out some of the undulations in the terrain here. Bunch of wind turbines here. On the map I'm looking at, there's a huge area. I think we're kind of passing between two of them. There's one over here, another one further to the south over here. Just big, marked as fields of turbines. Interestingly, see the ground is a little bit of a darker shade here. It was a bit lighter over in Nebraska. There's a little bit more of a darker surface and a greener tinge to it. It's more of a tannish tinge to it at the other side where we started. There's the wind farm. You can see all the turbines down there now. There's another whole field of turbines out there. So yeah, they are accurate on the charts. Very good. $47 miles to go. So if we look at about a 25-mile start down, we've got about 20 miles to go before we do that. Okay, we're going to be landing on runway 23 and parking on the South GA apron. Long stretch of wind turbines here, coming to an end. Make a little bit of an adjustment there. Then we're going to aim towards the VOR. So runway heading is 233. So we're going to dial this around to 233 just as a reference. And that will help us make sure we are lining up properly. Doing proper legs on our pattern once we're in the circuit. There's 2-4, there's 2-3, and 2-3-3 is about there. Somewhere there. just off in the haze there is the greater Des Moines area. A couple little suburbs. Alright. So as we're coming in for the final little bit, we're going to switch over to our auxiliary tanks. So we're going to make sure that we do this without screwing things up. There's left auxiliary. Switch over there, they got more fuel. We want to land on the fuller tanks. And right auxiliary. That's good. They're both reading the same. Engines are still running. Fuel pressure is still up, so we are good. Successfully changed tanks there. About 10 miles to go, and then we're going to slowly start our way down to 5,000 feet. Or dropping 5,000 feet down to about 2,000. It's the little community of Stewart. Those little farming communities. Final check of pressures and temperatures. Everything is looking good. Airport's out over this way. Couple little adjustments here to head towards the VOR. We're getting pretty close. Bring that needle a little bit more directly upwards. Pretty good. And again, it's about 8 miles or so from the VOR to the airfield. So, about 5 miles or so, we'll start downwards. Our speed's good. We're still at 171. Still got that nice wind pushing us. And we can start to see Des Moines coming in over here. Little town of Earlham. So 2 miles to go and we'll start down. Alright, that's about 20 miles or so out. So we're going to give us about 500 foot per minute down at the moment. And we'll pull the power back to 20 inches. And we'll begin our descent. And we'll monitor that as we go. Nice gentle let down from cruise altitude. There's the greater Des Moines area laid out there. Could be the airport right there. We'll see. Alright, 6,500. So we're going to up our rated set slightly. About 800 feet. Yeah, there's the airfield. So we're going to come up from the south, cross overhead this way, do a right turn onto our downwind, and then a right base coming in for final on 2-3. Very nice seeing the fall colors down there. Yeah, it's definitely the airport. And we're going to be parking probably on the apron right about there. So it's through 5,000 feet. Just check on the altimeters. We're still good. Coming into the area of the aerodrome, we'll turn our landing lights on. It's 4,000 feet. We're going to drop her all the way down to 1,000 feet per minute. For the last 2,000 feet. There's the downtown on the river. Turn to the north now. Bring us in towards the airfield. Typical U.S. high school. Come in at a bit of an angle. We come across the runway here. 500 feet to go. We're looking good. Start to ease off. Descent. Bring the power up, back up to our cruise power, 30 inches. And we're overhead the field. Turn to there. Some beautiful colors down there. Oh, there goes our shadow. level off. And there we sort of are. Alright, we're going to take over manual here as we fly over downtown Des Moines. Gyro pilot is now off. I'm going to extend out a little bit just over the downtown, and then we'll do our 180 in for our landing. So as we come over top of here, just before we make our turn, we're going to go to mixture auto rich, props fully forward. It's going to start slowing us down. Mixtures are auto rich. There we go. 2,000 feet-ish. Begin our turn. Do that, we'll come back on the power. First notch of flaps. Come around, keeping an eye out for the runway. Speed's coming back. Keep the power up, second notch of flaps. We're going to be landing into the haze here. Keep her coming around. Start her down, nosing down. Well, this could get interesting. The airfield should be sort of ahead of us. Okay, I've got the runway. It's in the murk there. Gear down. Second notch of flaps. And landing lights are on. Full flaps. Alright, gears down, mixtures fully rich. Props fully forward. And fuel's on fullest tanks. A little bit of a crosswind. Have the distance and the space for the landing, so I'm not too worried about that. 100 knots. We're going to try to touch down about just below 90. No pappy, so this is going to be a purely visual approach. Keeping the touchdown mark, try to keep it on the same place and the window. That speed 90 or so. Watch that, we're gonna be crabbing it in. We do have that dispatch threshold, but that's not going to be a concern given where we are. Alright, we're over the edge of the boundary of the airport field. That's good. Level out, speed's going to drop, so we might have to add a little bit of power as we come down. we go. Rudder to control. Nose down. Keep the nose down. Let her slow on her own. Tail's gonna fly down. A little bit of left aileron for the wind. Bring the tail down. Let the tail come down. The tail's down. Bury the tail now on the brakes. And we can exit right here. There we go. A little bit of power. Keep the engines going. We'll bring the flaps all the way up. We're going to come over here to the south apron. There you go. Flaps are up. Let's pop up, kill those lights. There we go. We'll keep her pulled back a little bit on the tail because of that wind. And if your nose into the wind when you taxi, you fly into the wind. If your nose is pointing away in it from the direction of the wind when you taxi, you fly away from the wind. Well, it's a little hard to see as we came in. That's for sure. That haze didn't help. So keep the engines turning over. We're going to use our brakes and our rudder to steer. And we're going to bring her around, park her between the poles. And there we go. Keep that tail planted so she doesn't nose forward. On the brakes. Aircraft is stopped, parking brake is on. I'm going to bring the engines down to 1,000 RPMs. That's where they should have been for taxi, but that's fine. Just keep them going, that'll suck up all the oil out of the sump pump and the sump pans. And make sure the engine's all lubricated when we shut her down. Alright, with that done, we can come out. We're going to shut down in the reverse of the order we started them. So left engine is going to go down first. And then the right engine. And there we go. Engines are down. We can turn off the beacon. Position lights will turn off as well. Pitot heat can come off. Generator's off. Should have turned on the boost pumps, but I forgot. And that's all good. We can put the battery cart, hook it up there. You can go away. That's good. Avionics off, and we'll open up the back. Get all the stuff out for the passengers to disembark. Well, thank you for joining us on the flight here to Des Moines, Iowa. Hope you enjoyed. We'll be back on Friday as we're in Japan carrying on that in the ATR 72-600. We'll see you then. Take care. Bye for now.